Hello everyone, welcome back for another tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to make this crochet cardigan. Over here we don't get keep, we get right into the point of what brings us here by learning how to crochet in the most simplest way. While you're here and you haven't subscribed, don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And you will need any yarn of your choice. The hook size will be determined by the yarn. So get ready, let's begin. In today's tutorial, I'll be using 100% acrylic yarn. It's from the Robin brand. It's a lightweight, but I will combine two strands to give me the medium weight yarn. And you will need a scissor, a needle, and I'll be using a 4.5mm hook for this tutorial. Also need a tape measure. We'll be making a crochet cardigan with a back panel of 21 inches, and the cardigan will be worked in 3 parts. We will first make the front and back panel, the sleeves, and then the ribbings for both the sleeves and the cardigan. So to start our work, we're first going to make the first part of this crochet cardigan. It's the front and the back panel. I'll show you how to work one panel, and then when we go off camera, I'll ask you to make the 2 panels at once. So to start, wrap your yarn around your hook like this and pull up a loop. Make a chain which is at least 13 inches long. Okay, make a chain. I'll meet you back here to take the measurements of the chain that I'm making, and then it will help us determine how many number of chains those are for people who specifically just work with number of chains. To master the chain by use of inches is easy. That way you know how many inches you're working with, unlike for number of chains where sometimes you can be limited. So I'll make a chain which is at least 13 inches long and meet you back here. We'll be able to know how many number of chains those are later. I'm back. Let's measure this and see how many number of inches these are. It's more than that. It's around 14. But we will determine the inch we are working with later. So this is the measurement from your shoulder to your bust. To know the measurement from your shoulder to your bust and just slightly under your boobs, you need to put a tape measure on your shoulder while standing straight, and then measure it up to around under your boobs. It will give you either 13 or 14 inches. So mine is 13 inches. That's why I said make a chain of 13 inches if you're working with a medium size, okay? But if you're working with a small or large or 2x, just take a measurement from your shoulder to slightly under your bust. It should be able to give you between 13 to 14 inches, and then make chains based on those inches. So for row 1, we are going to make half double crochet slip stitches. Wrap your yarn on your hook like this. Go in the second chain, pull up a loop and slip stitch. Repeat and do the same in the next stitch. Slip stitch like that, and slip stitch, slip stitch. Repeat this up to until when you've gotten your 13 or 14 inches. I'll meet you when I'm done with mine, and I'll also be able to tell people who specifically work in number of chains how many those stitches are. I've already made my 13 inches, so we take a measurement like this. Okay, and these are 58 number of stitches for me. So for people who are going to be working in number of chains, chain 59 and then slip stitch half double crochet 58 times by inserting your hook from the second chain, and then proceed to make half double crochet slip stitches up to the end. For row 2, you're going to chain 1. The chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch, so you're going to go in the back loop here and make a single crochet. Make single crochet only in the back loops. All right, I'll meet you at the end of this row when we are going to start the next row. Only make single crochets in the back loop. Okay, I'll meet you when we are going to start the next row. I'm at the end of row 2. To start row 3, chain 1, repeat what we did at row 1. So you're going to wrap your yarn on your hook like this, go in this space here, pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook and then slip stitch. Okay, go in the second stitch, go through all these 2, pull up a loop and slip stitch. You wrap your yarn on your hook like this, go through these 2 loops and then pull up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on your hook and slip stitch. Repeat this up to the end of the row. I'll meet you when we are going to start row 4. Don't forget, it is row 1 that you're repeating. We started row 1 by slip stitching half double crochets, and then row 2 we did single crochets in the back loop. Row 3 we are again doing slip stitches or half double crochet, and row 4 we will continue with the pattern of putting single crochet in the back loop. I'll meet you when I'm at the end of this row to start row 4. I'm in the last stitch, don't forget it. So you're going to insert your hook in there, pull up a loop and slip stitch, chain 1. The next row is a row of single crochet only in the back loop. Okay, the chain 1 doesn't count as a stitch. So you're going to go in the back loop, pull up a loop and single crochet, go again in the next stitch, back loops only and single crochet. This is what you are going to repeat up to until when you get the desired length of your back panel. For this crochet sweater, it's going to be 21 inches wide. Okay, now for every row where you have done a half double crochet slip stitch, know that in the next row you will be putting single crochets only in the back loop. Okay, a row of half double crochet slip stitches, and then the next row single crochets only in the back loop. All right, and if you get lost, you can go back, pause the video or play it in slow motion to get the pattern correctly. At the end of it all, your pattern is going to look like this. Repeat this for a total of 21 inches. I'll come back here when I am done making my 2 panels. So I completed making my panel. I made 2 panels which measure exactly the same, and this is how the pattern should look like for you. And you should ensure that you got the measurements right. For this sweater, it's 21 inches. So when I measure this, it should be able to give me the 21 inch which I want. Get your tape measure, 21 inches, like that. just slightly. Then we are going to join these two panels together. Lay the panels together and then mark 5 inches away, or determine the neck area which you want. Okay, this tutorial is practical. You're able to know how big or small the neck area is for you. So when you're measuring, you should be aware of that. Okay, all right, so we are trying to get an opening. You want to make sure that the neck opening, when you're done making this sweater, is not too tight and strangling you. Okay, so when you figure that for yourself, for most of my sweaters that I make, I figured that 10 or 12 inches are enough for me, depending on how the collar is going to be, whether a turtleneck or not. And this is just enough. So you're going to get your hook and slip stitch. Turn your work like that. Insert your hook in here. I'll weave in these ends later. Insert your hook in here. Grab the other side of the yarn. Chain one and slip stitch. So we will slip stitch up to where we place the stitch marker. You will also go ahead and slip stitch the other side. All right, like that. Grab this and grab the other side and slip stitch. Okay, I just want to show you people how to slip stitch this, but I will remove the slip stitches and use a needle for joining. Okay, this is how the slip stitching is going to look like for people who are using slip stitches to join. Now, if you're using a needle, I need to show you how to do it. Okay, get your scissor, cut out the yarn, pull it like that. Get your needle, pass it through the needle. Get your yarn, pass it through the needle like that, and then come here, secure the yarn. Okay, there are so many ways of joining your panels together, but I love to use a needle for joining mine. So if you're someone who likes to use the needle, this is how you should do it. Like that. So you just go ahead and join your panels, just like how I showed people how to slip stitch. This is how you are going to join your two panels together. When you're joining and you're done joining this, come and join this other side too. Okay, from here to the other side. I'll meet you when I am done joining my two panels together. I completed to join my two panels together, and this is how using a needle looks like for me. You can see it from here. So this is how it looks like for me. Okay, and then from inside and this. So we are now going to work on the waistband. I'll use slip stitches to work on the waistband, but if slip stitching is going to be slow for you, I recommend you to use single crochets. I'll show you how to do it, and then you can just switch that to work with a single crochet. So to start working on a waistband, you want a waistband that can cover up to your butt area, like it covers the whole of your stomach, and also when you sit down, your behind is not appearing. So I am going to get my yarn like this. This is important for me, helps with my tension. And then insert your hook there, pull up a loop and chain one. So make a chain of how long you want the waistband to be. Since I want it to cover the whole of my back, like even when I sit down, I'm not worried of my behind showing, I will make a chain that is at least 10 to 11 inches long, and then I'll come back here and show you how to make row 1 of my slip stitches. I chained 50. Let's measure this. It's like 13 inches, but with slip stitching I know this is going to reduce. Even if it reduces around 11, 10 or 11.5, it's okay. So for row 1, we're going to gather this panel together and make sure that it's able to fit us. You want something that can slip through your head, shoulder and down. That's what we're going to do here. So for row 1, make slip stitches up to the end here. I'll meet you when we are going to start the next row. I'm at the end of my row. I made 49 slip stitches. So you're going to insert your hook in here, pull up a loop 1, go in the second space, pull up a loop twice, chain 1, turn your work, skip these 2 slip stitches, go in the third stitch, pull up a loop, and slip stitch. Continue to slip stitch back up. At the end of row 2, you should have 49 slip stitches. Start row 3. At the end of row 3, you should have 49 slip stitches. I'll meet you back again here when we are going to start row 4. Make sure that your slip stitches are not too tight, because if you work it too tight, then your hook is not going to want to slip through easily. I'll meet you here when we are going to start row 4. This is how my slip stitches are looking like, and we measure this. Just how I wanted it, in between 10 to 11.5. So I'll meet you when we are going to start row 4. I'm at the end of row 3. So you're going to come here, slip stitch once, go in the second space, slip stitch twice, chain 1, turn your work, skip the 2 slip stitches, and then go in the third stitch and slip stitch. At the end of row 4, you should have 49 slip stitches. Start row 5. When you reach down here, slip stitch twice, continue with row 6, row 8. When you're done with row 6 and 7, you slip stitch again twice, turn your work, skip the 2 slip stitches, insert your hook in the 3rd stitch and pull up a loop. Ensure that at the end of every row in this waistband, you have 49 number of slip stitches. Repeat this pattern all round. When you reach here, join this pattern together. Repeat all round. I'll meet you when I'm here. I'm done slip stitching all around. This is how my work looks like. We started from here and then went all the way. We joined the 2 panels together from here and then proceeded to this part, and this is where we are. At this point, you already can tell that this is able to slip from your head shoulder down. This is a very practical tutorial. As you work on these slip stitches, you are also able to know that it is either too small or too big. And if it was too small for you, instead of slip stitching at the end twice, you only slip stitch once. So we are now going to join our 2 panels together. You are going to turn your work like this, okay? Insert your hook back in here, chain 1, go in the other side of this first loop and pull up a loop, okay? This, the other side, and slip stitch. I'm working with 2 strands, but if you were working with 1 strand, the loops should be able to be spotted for you. So we will slip stitch this, all right? Like this. This is how the slip stitch is looking, and also from inside. We will continue to slip stitch up to here, up to this point, okay? Let me show you one more time. Insert your hook here, insert your hook the other side, and slip stitch here, the other side, and slip stitch. I have to make sure that I am picking all the 2 strands that I've been crocheting with, okay? But this is basically how you are going to slip stitch. You will insert your hook in here, go to the other side of the panel and slip stitch. Continue to slip stitch up to this point. Join this together. I'll meet you when I'm here. I finished to slip stitch my waistband, and this is how it looks like, and this is the inside part. So when you lay this flat, this is how your waistband is going to look like, and also from this other side, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pull up this yarn like this and cut it out, all right, like that. Put this aside and we work on our sleeves. Now for the sleeves, it's going to be a repeat pattern of how we started in row 1. I will instruct you how to do it, and then you pause the video and go back to row 1 right from the beginning of how we started working on our front and back panel. So for this sleeve, chain 80, and then at the end of every row you should have 69 number of stitches. Go ahead and make 39 rows of these. I have 39 rows here, 2, 6, 4, 8, 10, all right, up to 39. Okay, when you're done making that, make another panel. But before you make another panel, I need to show you how to work on the ribbing. You are going to come here, insert your hook. Okay, the ribbing is also going to be just like how we worked on our waistband. All right, so you insert your hook back here. You are going to chain 1, turn your work. Okay, let's gather this. Gathering will depend on how small or big your wrist is. Insert your hook in here, pull up a loop 1, again in here, pull up a loop twice and slip stitch. All right, again pull up a loop 1, 2, you have 3 loops on your hook, and then 3, 1, 2, 3, 4 loops on your hook and slip stitch. Okay, as you gather this, you'll be able to notice how it is reducing. If it's turning out too small for you, instead of slip stitching and having 4 loops on your hook, you only maintain 3 loops on your hook. But what I'm doing here is I reduce once where I have 2 loops on my hook, and then I reduce twice where I have 3 loops on my hook and slip stitch. Then again I slip stitch, I reduce 1, 2 and 3 and slip stitch. This is what I'm doing. Okay, so repeat this up to the end of the row. I'll meet you when I'm done reducing mine. Catch you when I'm at the end of my row. I'm at the end of my row, chain 1. So this is how it's looking like. With slip stitches, this is going to reduce. All right, so chain 17. I've already chained 1, so 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So to start row 1, you're going to go in the second chain, insert your hook here, pull up a loop and slip stitch. Slip stitch up to the end of this chain. At the end of this chain, you will have 16 number of slip stitches. I'll meet you when we are going to start row 2. Working on the ribbing is just going to be like how we worked on the waistband. All right, I'll meet you when I'm in the end here for us to start row 2. I'm at the end of row 1. I have 16 number of slip stitches, so you are going to go here in this second space and slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, skip that first slip stitch and go in the second stitch like that. Pardon me, I'm working with 2 strands, and pull up a loop, slip stitch. Continue to slip stitch back up. At the end of row 2, you should still have 16 number of slip stitches. You will follow what we did with the waistband. Each time you reach at the end of the row, like for example right now we're working on row 2, when you reach here, chain 1, start row 3, and slip stitch again up to the end of the row. Now when you finish slip stitching up to the end of row 3, you will come in this next space, slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, skip the first slip stitch, go in the second one and slip stitch, back again, up and down. I'm going to show you just one time, and then after that I'll leave you to continue with the pattern. It's basically what we were doing with the waistband, but instead of slip stitching twice, you only slip stitch once. Like I mentioned earlier, this is a very practical tutorial. As you slip stitch this and you see that it is becoming smaller, you should be able to know how to adjust. Or when it's bigger, you will, instead of slip stitching once, will slip stitch twice. Catch you when I'm at the end of row 3 to show you how to start row 4, and then after that I'll leave you to work slip stitches up to this, and we meet when I'm here. I'm at the end of row 3. Now we are going to start row 4. To complete row 3, you're going to go in this loop and slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, skip that first slip stitch we made and go in the second stitch, go in the second stitch and slip stitch. Okay, repeat this up to the end. All right, so every time you complete a row and you find yourself at the end here, you go in the next loop, slip stitch once. Okay, you repeat this for every row. I'll meet you when I'm at the end of my row to join our sleeves together. I'm at the end of my ribbons, and this is how it's looking like. When I fold this, it can slip through my rib. Now we're going to join this sleeve together. To do that, you're going to insert your hook back in here, chain 1, go in the other side in this first loop and slip stitch. Okay, grab this, go in the other side and slip stitch like that. We will slip stitch up to the end of this sleeve which we have made. All right, we will slip stitch up to here, up to this point. Okay, so go ahead, you can use a needle or just do it as I'm doing today. Okay, pick this side and then go in the other side and slip stitch, pick this side, go in the other side and slip stitch, this, the other side and slip stitch like this, this other side and slip stitch. All right, this is how your slip stitch is going to look like, and even from inside. So continue to slip stitch. When you reach here, I'll show you how to proceed from this other side. I've reached in this point where I'm going to start joining the sleeves together. Okay, I'm done slip stitching the ribbing, and this is how my ribbing looks like, and even from inside. So when you've reached up here where I am, this is what you're going to do. You're going to grab this back loop and then go in the other side and slip stitch. Okay, grab this back loop again go in the other side and slip stitch. All right, instead of the front loop, you ignore it and go in the back loop and grab the other side and slip stitch. All right, so only go in the back loops and slip stitch up to the end of this sleeve. I'll meet you when we are done. I finished to slip stitch up to the end, and this is how it's looking like. Okay, this is how our sleeve is looking like so far. Now when you reach here, insert your hook back in there, back in here. All right, chain one and pull up the yarn long enough, because we are going to use it to join these sleeves to our sweater. So I'm going to cut it out somewhere here like that, and then pull this out like this. So this is one part of the sleeve. Make another sleeve like this. All right, make two sleeves. When you're done making your two sleeves, we are going to join it to our sweater. To join your sleeves to the sweater, this is what you're going to do. You get your sweater like this. Okay, at this point you already know which one is your front panel and the back. After that, you lay it together, get your sleeve like this, and then get a stitch marker like this, and then join it together. This will help us stitch the sleeve to our sweater. Join it together like this. When you're joining this, you go ahead and also join the other side. Okay, like this. Same for this side, like that. Get the other side. Lay it flat together like this. Get a stitch marker and join it together. Joining it together will help you know where exactly to stitch your sleeves. All right, so that you're not stitching it the wrong way. Now when you're done doing this, you can either use a needle or slip stitches to join your sleeves together. It's entirely your choice. I'm going to use a needle. Turn the other side and stitch this together. So this is what we are going to do. You will get your needle and start joining from here, or if you're using a slip stitch, you will just proceed to slip stitch all around. What you're going to do, you'll remove the stitch marker like this, okay, and then insert your hook in here, grab the other side of the sleeve like this and slip stitch, okay, and then you just go ahead and slip stitch these two sides together like that. All right, you slip stitch this all around, but I'm going to use a needle to sew mine, and we'll meet here when I'm done joining my two sleeves together. So I'm done attaching my sleeves to this sweater. This is how my sleeves look like after using a needle to attach even this other side. Okay, so we are now going to start working on the neck. To start working on the neck, we are going to put single crochets all around. Get your hook like this, attach it in here, pull up a loop. Okay, chain one. So go ahead and put single crochets all around like that. This is how you put a single crochet. Put a single crochet in every space that you see, like this, okay? I'm going to go ahead and put a single crochet all around. This is also my way of weaving in my loose ends, okay? So this is me going to attach another yarn like that, okay? So I'll go ahead and put single crochets all around and meet you here when we are going to start on the next part. I'm in the last space, which is this one. So come here in this other one, put a single crochet and then slip stitch on top of the first single crochet you made earlier, like that. Chain one, turn your work like this, make another row of single crochet like this. I'll meet you when I'm done making this row of single crochet. I'm done making my second row of single crochet. Now we are going to start working on our collar. Chain 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like that. Go in the second chain, insert your hook in there, pull up a loop and slip stitch. At the end of this row, you should have 7 slip stitches. I'll meet you when we are going to start row 2 of these slip stitches. I have 7 slip stitches, so you are going to go in this first space here, slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work and skip that first slip stitch, go in the second one, like this, and slip stitch. At the end of row 2, you should have 7 slip stitches, chain 1, turn your work, start row 3. I'll meet you when we are going to start row 4. I'm at the end of row 3, so you are going to go in this second space, insert your hook there and slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work, skip that 1 slip stitch and go in the second one and slip stitch. All right, at the end of row 4, you should have 7 slip stitches, chain 1, turn your work, start row 5, okay, like this, turn your work. So you will repeat this pattern all around. When you reach here, you slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work and continue with the pattern. Repeat this pattern all around. I'll meet you when I'm in this last space here. I'm done slip stitching round, so we're going to join this together. Align your work together like this, go in this stitch and then the stitch on the other side and slip stitch. You can also use a needle to slip stitch, your choice. Do this up to the end, like this. Like that. This is how your collar looks like, even from inside. Okay, there's no difference. So when you're done doing that, you hide in these loose ends. When you're done hiding in the loose ends, that means you have come to the end of this tutorial. I always appreciate you all being here and for subscribing to my channel. So thank you for sticking around. I am grateful. Hope to see you in my next tutorial. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like, and comment. Bye.